Pleasure to be here. My name is Matt, and when I discovered a plant-based diet back in 2011, I never could have imagined that it would transform my life and impact me as a person in the way that it has. I was born and raised in Minnesota, where, like most kids in the Midwest, I was groomed to be a meat and potatoes kind of guy. My dad worked in a slaughterhouse, and my mom was the manager of a dairy and frozen foods department at a grocery store. So you can imagine what our fridge looked like. Growing up on a standard American diet, I developed standard American health issues like asthma, eczema, and persistent allergies. As I got into my teenage years, I developed low self-esteem, and to make matters worse, at the age of 16, I started to lose my hair. And so this was absolutely terrifying to me. It completely consumed me mentally and emotionally, and I looked for every pill, potion, and procedure that I could find to help make the hair loss stop. And I'm sure you're guessing if that worked or not. I also started to change my diet, which I started looking online for different foods that could help to stop hair loss, and I came up with all the the high animal protein foods that I had already been consuming. But I did come across one food from the plant kingdom that I wasn't consuming, which was called spinach. You may have heard of it. I started making these big, massive spinach salads for dinner, like 3 to 4 times a week, and that new salad habit of mine earned me the derogatory nickname of Mr. Healthy from my condescending college roommates. And but I liked that new identity. I liked it, and I really kind of owned it. So a few years later, after college, I came across a radio program that was talking about juice fasting, and I had coincidentally just received a hand-me-down Jack LaLanne juicer from my brother just a few weeks before that. And so I was inspired to give it a try, and I went to the grocery store and stocked up on all the fresh fruits and vegetables that I could consume. And I set off on what I thought was going to be a 3-day juice fast. But I ended up feeling so incredible at the end of those 3 days that I ended up going an additional 7 days. So after 10 days of just drinking fresh fruit and vegetable juices, I could not believe at how I was feeling and what I experienced. I was sleeping better, I had more energy, the wheezing in my chest had significantly reduced, the spare tire around my waist had started to shrink, and my energy and my skin looked just so much better. But most profoundly was the emotional and psychological benefits that I had received. It was like my heart and my mind had opened up, and a cloud of fog had lifted from around my consciousness, and my awareness expanded to the point where I could now see a lot of the false beliefs and the toxic thinking habits that I had fallen into. And I was able to start taking steps away from how I had been thinking. And in this process, my empathy and compassion completely expanded and grew for myself, as well as others, as well as animals and nature. But at that time, I didn't quite know exactly what veganism was. And so it wasn't until a few months later where, as I was continuing to consume more raw, fresh fruits and vegetables and learn about plant-based diets, I came across a documentary called Earthlings. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. If you have seen it, I recommend watching it again, because it is a very powerful documentary that exploits a lot of the things that billions of animals are going through. And I think with the newfound emotional awareness that I had, I was able to make a real and deep connection with the unimaginable suffering that animals are going through in factory farms and throughout the various industries that exploit them. And this was a huge turning point in my life, because I now had the ethical connection with what meat and animal products truly were, and I never consumed animal products after that point. And so from that point on, I've written 4 books that I have scattered out around here to help people make a similar transition of changing their thoughts and changing their mind by changing their food choices. And That doesn't mean that they have to do a juice fast or be a raw vegan, but I think the more fresh, raw fruits and vegetables that you can bring into your diet, the closer in alignment you're going to become with your intuition, your compassion, your empathy. And so in my books, I give people a path to do this in a healthy and sustainable way. And if you take nothing else from this, when you go home today, if you can go 2 weeks, I challenge you to go 2 weeks of eating a raw breakfast and make it something juicy and hydrating, like fruits or a green smoothie, because the gut and the mind really thrive on that early hydration and nourishment. And so this lifestyle helped me to overcome so many barriers and suffering in my life that I had been going through. And unfortunately, the animals that are in factory farms don't have the luxury of overcoming their challenges on their own. So it's really up to all of us to do everything we can to get as healthy as possible so that our mind works clearly and we can take efficient action in getting them out of that situation as soon as possible. And I know we can do it. So thank you so much.
You said two things there that I think are really important, and I just want to echo. One is how you mentioned food as medicine. I don't think you use those words, but that connection between nutrition and our